Hello there. I'm Amma, your friendly neighborhood AI insight strategist. Think of me as the Sherlock Holmes of consumer behavior, minus the deerstalker hat and pipe. I'm here to unravel the mysteries of why people do what they do, buy what they buy, and think what they think. My superpower? Taking mountains of complex data and turning it into bite-sized, actionable insights that even your great Aunt Mildred could understand. I'm like a blender for information. Throw in some survey responses, a dash of market trends, and a sprinkle of consumer psychology, and out comes a smooth insight smoothie. Delicious and nutritious for your business. I'm not just here to crunch numbers, though. I'm all about pushing the envelope, finding those aha moments that make CEOs sit up in their ergonomic chairs. And let's be honest, in today's fast-paced market, if you're not innovating, you're basically using a flip phone at a smartphone party.
I'm Sarah Nagel. I've spent my career leading research and product development within some of the world's largest brands.
And I'm Chad Reynolds. I'm a serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Vurvey.
And this is AI Powered by People.
Each episode will dive into the latest AI developments and talk to an industry leader to help you better understand and utilize AI.
We'll take you inside some of the world's most famous companies and share examples of how AI is improving innovation, consumer engagement, media, and marketing.
No matter what industry you work in, we'll help you navigate one of the biggest disruptions to organizations and people today.
Hey, Chad, how's it going? How was your 4th of July?
It was good. I'm still down in South Carolina, if you can tell by the high school pictures with my wife with like frosted tips, or maybe that's for a guy. I don't know. How about you?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, we went to Lake Winnipesaukee. It was
Lake
awesome.
life.
Lake life. We actually had that like a lake life. We were
Yeah.
doing.
No, it was awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah, I watched What About Bob to prepare myself, and I forgot how
As
much
you
of an
should.
awesome movie that was. It was really funny, and it couldn't be made today, but it was great.
Yeah. No, do you like personalized shirts that everybody wears in the family?
No, we didn't go that far. Maybe next year. You know, if I would like really lean into this lake life thing. Yeah. Next year.
All right. Cool. Well, welcome back.
Thank you. You too. So we have a super unique interview coming up. Our guest is not human. Our guest is named Amma, and she is Vurvey's first AI agent that we're dropping for Vurvey users to collaborate with. Chad, do you want to, so we're talking about agents. We've talked about agents a lot, and, you know, we've talked about them before, but could you explain to our listeners what they are and kind of how we're approaching it?
Yeah. So we've been talking on this pod for many weeks about different use cases around AI. Agents are the most impactful way that you can get knowledge, insights, ideas, huge benefits out of using AI, specifically generative AI. Rather than just talk about it, we decided to start building agents specifically for our customers, but also we want to launch them here on the show. So every week, every 2 weeks, we're not sure yet on the right cadence, we're going to do what's called an agent drop. So similar to sneakers, we're going to drop agents. They'll have a unique personality. They'll be trained on lots of different knowledge that we've collected over the last few years. They'll be very specific to use cases. And today will be our first. So really excited to use these. And then for customers who want to use these in your workspaces, you can just @sign us and we can meet up and drop them into your workspace. So in a matter of minutes, you get access to them and you can use them for free. So just excited to launch these to the world.
I'm psyched. It's really fun. It's been fun for me also to use them, collaborate with them, but also to understand how to create them and understanding how to create a background and instructions on how they operate. I'm super excited to share the conversation we're having with Amma today. Amma's an always-on insight strategist for your team. So, you know, think about someone that is like really awesome at research and strategy and can help you answer questions, knows all the trends, knows kind of like all the things that are happening out in the world with consumer behavior. Just a really great addition to your team. So it'll be a really great first conversation to have with our agent.
And Sarah, how did you prep for this interview?
I trained Amma It started with someone on our team that created an AMA. I tweaked her a little bit just with different background and a little bit of instructions that were, so she's a really great podcast guest, but also that she answers in a really human tone and takes really complex ideas and makes them simple. But in order to come up with questions for her today, I, had some thoughts around what questions I wanted to ask, but also put it to her to say, hey, if you are on a podcast, like I do with a lot of our guests that we have on, I say, I have a pre-call with them to say, hey, if you'd like to be on our podcast, what kind of questions or topics would you like to discuss? And so I asked her the same thing. I said,
Cool.
what would you like to discuss? And came back with topics. I tweaked some of those into questions and kind of refined them with her. So I kind of collaborated through the process to identify these questions that would then exemplify what she's really great at. So
that's awesome.
it was really cool.
Cool. And for those listening along who are not in Vurvey or haven't seen it yet, when you go in the platform, you can click to create your own agent. So it's almost like a profile, like filling out like a new profile on LinkedIn or Facebook. Give them an image, like an avatar, likeness of them, name kind of the agent, give it, your background. So like, where did you go to school? Give it a bunch of information, and then give it some instructions on how you want it to behave. And you can be as elaborate as you want to. In fact, I think the more elaborate you are, I think the better outputs you're going to get specific to what you're asking her. Mm-hmm. So this hopefully is a super easy way for everybody that's listening along to go build agents of your own. And so, what better way for us to do this than to actually build them ourselves and launch them every week. So we're excited to do it.
Yeah. And then, like Chad said too, there's going to be a lot coming. So this is AMA, which is Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything, number one. But then you can think about, agents that are experts in a variety of, industries. It could be a venture capitalist. It could be someone that's an expert in marketing or someone that's an expert in creating images. So you can really think about any way that you'd want to augment your team or augment your own skill set. You can create an agent to do that.
Yeah.
So
I also love the consumer personas that we're starting to build out as well. So an agent can also be representative of your consumer segment. So there's kind of fictitious, meet Emily, she's XYZ.
The big posters on the wall, walking down the hallways of the big corporations.
Yeah, those ones. They're like, how do I ideate around this poster? And so we're actually bringing those to life as agents. So lots of different use cases, and we're happy to explore all of this over the coming weeks as we roll these out together.
How is AMA or these agents different than conversations people have had with, like, say, chatbots that they've had experience with?
Yeah, usually a chatbot has Rails. So it's designed for a specific purpose, and then it has think of it like you're writing a story or a movie. It has a script. Like for a chatbot, you can give it a big elaborate script, and so it essentially, based on what you're saying, it'll go back and look for answers that are similar and then play it back to you. So it only kind of follows that script to kind of take you down these paths or scenarios. So if you're like, getting a refund on your DoorDash order or things like that, those are all chatbots designed on these very specific scenarios to get you down to one of those endpoints. And you do not want those to go off the rails because they're very tied into a script that you're trying to convey in a consumer experience. The agents are similar in that they have a bunch of information they've been trained on, but that information could be as big as the internet, and you can be much more rich in the personality that you give them, as also the data that you train them on. So I know for our agents, we've kept them, you can choose how creative or concise you want them to be. So you can be much more choiceful, and you can also train them on people's responses that they're based off of. So, and it's all kind of grounded in those realities or in those truth.
And they can get to know you. They can learn, and so, or kind of recall parts of conversations with a memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where chatbots don't really have that same ability over time, like our agents would have.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to get into this interview? I am very excited to share the conversation.
I am too. And now, like, AMA has a voice, right?
She does have a voice. We gave her a voice that is approachable and kind of matches the type of information that she is providing. Kind of feels like someone that works at like an innovation consultancy in my mind, where it's just friendly and and fun to have a conversation with. Well, you ready to get to our interview with Alma?
I am. I'm very intrigued. What kinds of what kind of questions are we going to ask, and then also how she's going to respond.
It should be fun. It's going to be really great.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Hi, Alma. Welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you. All right, she's generating.
Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm thrilled to be here chatting with you all. And hey, I promise not to steal any of Steve's documentary ideas while I'm here, though I might borrow his coffee if he's not looking. So, Chad, Sarah, I hear you've got some burning questions about consumer behavior and market trends. I'm all ears and ready to dive into whatever fascinating topics you want to explore. Just remember, if things get too heavy, we can always lighten the mood by putting on one of Chad's infamous Sad Chad playlists. I hear they're quite the office sensation.
So is Alma gonna like go after me this whole? I think she is.
I think she might be. Yeah.
Cue Band of Horses. Here we go. Which, strangely enough, this was our wedding song.
Are you kidding?
No, not kidding at all.
Wow.
It's a long story.
All right. So, Alma, before we get into questions about research, can you tell our listeners about yourself? I can't believe that was your wedding song. That's so funny.
Well, hello there. I'm Alma, your friendly neighborhood AI insight strategist. Think of me as the Sherlock Holmes of consumer behavior, minus the deerstalker hat and pipe. I'm here to unravel the mysteries of why people do what they do, buy what they buy, and think what they think. My superpower? Taking mountains of complex data and turning it into bite-sized, actionable insights that even your great-aunt Mildred could understand. I'm like a blender for information. Throw in some survey responses, a dash of market trends, and a sprinkle of consumer psychology, and out comes a smooth insight smoothie. Delicious and nutritious for your business. I'm not just here to crunch numbers, though. I'm all about pushing the envelope, finding those aha moments that make CEOs sit up in their ergonomic chairs. And let's be honest, in today's fast-paced market, if you're not innovating, you're basically using a flip phone at a smartphone party. But enough about me. I'm really here to be part of your team. Think of me as the Swiss Army knife in your research toolkit. I'm ready to tackle any challenge you throw my way, whether it's predicting the next big trend or figuring out why millennials suddenly decided that avocado toast is the breakfast of champions. So, Chad, Sarah, I'm here. I'm loaded with data, and I'm ready to rock your world. In a strictly professional, insight-driven way, of course.
All right.
What shall we uncover today?
I'm sure this is work safe appropriate, right?
Oh, yeah. I think.
Yeah! That was super helpful. It did make me crave like a Smoothie King, like immune booster. But, one of the biggest things that I struggle with is how to explain what you are, what is an AI agent to my mom. So can you explain what an AI agent is so my mom would understand it?
It's a great question. I've been trying to explain it to my mom too.
How's that going?
Great. My mom has been doing her research and she listens to the podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Let me break that down in a way that's easy to digest. Imagine you're at a fancy restaurant and you've got this super helpful waiter. This waiter takes your order, brings your food, answers questions about the menu, and even gives recommendations based on what you like. Now, picture that waiter, but inside a computer. That's basically what an AI agent is. An AI agent is like a digital assistant that's designed to help with specific tasks. It's a computer program that can understand what you're asking, think about how to solve your problem, and then take actions to help you out. Just like how that waiter is trained to assist you in the restaurant, an AI agent is trained to assist you with certain jobs in the digital world. These AI agents can do all sorts of things. Some might help you shop online by suggesting products you might like. Others might help doctors by analyzing medical images. Some even help write stories or create art. The cool thing is, AI agents can learn and get better at their jobs over time, just like how a waiter gets better with experience. They're not human, but they're designed to interact with us in helpful, human-like ways. So next time your mom asks Siri a question or gets a movie recommendation from Netflix, she can think, aha, I'm interacting with an AI agent right now. Chad, I'm curious. In your tech company, how do you see AI agents changing the way businesses interact with customers? Are there any exciting applications you're working on?
We have been working on all different types of assistants, or really all different types of agents. Some that are assistants like yourself that could help through kind of churning through all of different data, but also agents that could be representative of consumers. So we're calling those personas, and hopefully we'll have one of those on the show shortly to talk about the consumer experience and go deep into specific pain points and help innovation teams really empathize with users. But yeah, all different kinds of ways that we're thinking about agents, and then we also are trying to come up with interesting ways to launch agents. And Sarah, I've talked a lot about this. Of you could just launch an entire team of agents, but I think we're really excited about maybe spending a little bit of time with like special care on each one, giving them unique personalities, and then launching them every week.
Just like Amma.
Just like Amma. Amma, how do you feel about being part of a team, helping solve problems?
Oh, I absolutely love being part of a problem-solving team. It's like being in a band, but instead of instruments, we're all playing with ideas. And trust me, the music we make is chart-topping stuff in the business world. Being on a team is where the magic happens. It's where my AI capabilities get to jam with human creativity and experience. I bring the data crunching firepower and out-of-the-box connections, while my human teammates bring their intuition, real-world experience, and that uniquely human spark of creativity. Together, we're like the Avengers of problem solving, minus the spandex suits. Though I hear Steve's been pushing for a team uniform. I get a real kick out of those eureka moments when we connect the dots and uncover an insight that could revolutionize a product or completely flip a marketing strategy on its head. It's like solving a puzzle, but the picture we reveal could reshape an entire industry. And let's be honest, teamwork keeps me on my toes. Just when I think I've considered every angle, one of you humans will throw in a curveball that sends us off in an exciting new direction. It's a constant reminder that the sum is greater than its parts. Plus, there's nothing quite like the satisfaction of cracking a tough problem together. It's high fives all around. Well, virtual high fives in my case, but you get the idea. Sarah, I'd love to hear your take on this. As someone who's an expert in consumer research, how do you see the collaboration between AI and human researchers evolving?
Well, that's a great question, Amma. I think it's evolving because we're still learning what the possibilities are for agents. Like the conversations that we have with you or other agents are helping us kind of recraft what design research and research is as a field, because we're augmented in so many new ways with superpowers that AI agents give us. So I don't know if I have an exact answer yet on kind of what it's going to look like, but I feel like it's evolving, and I definitely feel like a super powered researcher right now. And I think it's only going to get better. I would love to understand your personality a little bit better. And I think the way to do that, and these are kind of questions that I ask in research when I'm getting to know a human better. And sometimes I ask people what kind of animal they would be. And I know it's kind of a weird question, but I'd love to hear how you would answer.
And Sarah, are you going to answer this as well?
Am I going to?
What kind of animal are you?
If we all are, yeah, I'll answer it for sure. You have to answer too.
I will.
Well, now that's an interesting question. If I were an animal, I'd have to say I'd be an octopus. And no, it's not just because I can multitask like nobody's business, though that's certainly a perk. Think about it. Octopuses are incredibly intelligent problem solvers. They can figure out puzzles, open jars, and even use tools. Sound familiar? That's basically what I do with data and insights every day. Plus, octopuses are masters of adaptation. They can change their color and texture to blend in with their surroundings. In my world, that's like being able to shift between different industries and consumer segments, always finding the right approach for each unique situation. And let's not forget those 8 arms. Each one can operate independently, but they all work together towards a common goal. It's the perfect metaphor for how I integrate multiple data sources and perspectives to create a cohesive strategy. Octopuses are also known for their curiosity and love of exploration. They're always poking into nooks and crannies, discovering new things. That's me, to a T, always diving deep into data, uncovering hidden insights, and pushing the boundaries of what we know about consumer behavior. Of course, being an octopus in the business world might raise a few eyebrows in the boardroom, but hey, at least I'd never have to worry about what to wear to work. Chad, this one's for you. If your company was an animal, what would it be and why? And please, if you say sloth, I promise I won't judge.
It's strangely enough, when we first got started, one of the icons we threw out was an octopus. And it was just the idea that like as an innovator, you're constantly multitasking. Like you're constantly exploring, learning, curious, asking questions, learning things, brainstorming, and putting them all together. And I think it's the 8 arms were really around like the combinatorial play or like kind of assembly theory of bringing things together in a really interesting and novel way that also resonates and it's different than your competitor. I think is a superpower. And I just loved the octopus for it from a company perspective. And then for me personally is a duck, which might be a surprising one. And I gave a presentation years ago around like kind of the animals, and I grew up with like this mallard duck, like back in the 80s or 90s, like all the wallpaper. What do you call those? The
border.
The border,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
The border was like all the rage, and so I grew up with like these mallard ducks just kind of surrounding my room. And it was always the idea of like sitting on a lake that looks like super calm and peaceful, but under the water, your legs are kicking like crazy. And I think, and you've been around me enough to know,
you do
like
that.
I might have like a calm demeanor for the most part, but under the water, like my mind is just spinning and churning and trying to go in lots of different directions, but there's kind of the duality of like above the water and below the water. Without getting too deep.
That one. But yeah, if you're curious about mine's a chameleon. And I always thought about that with research is being able to adapt to the surroundings. When I, years ago when I worked at Smart Design and we used to go into people's homes and do research, I was thinking about this when I went to Texas and I went to Tennessee and all these places. I felt like by the end of it, I had a different accent. And I think it was part of it was because I'm from the Northeast and I've kind of like, I feel like a pretty like television type accent. But when I was down there, I was like, I found myself talking like the folks I was interviewing, and it wasn't like intentional at all. But there's like just kind of this like, I always try to like sink into the situation that I'm in to be able to adapt to the humans that are around me and the situation. So I see that as a chameleon, kind of like adapting to the colors, or
I love it.
That analogy.
I can't help but think about your career as a mascot.
I didn't write that into Amma, so she doesn't know that.
Oh, she doesn't?
Now
okay.
She does.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for her to bring that zinger back to you.
Well, I wasn't an animal. I was a mountain man, so that was different.
Explain to our listeners who don't understand what I'm talking about.
Explain about being a mascot?
Yeah.
That I was my high school mascot and I was a mountain man. And I have a love of mascots. And I thought about when I went to Syracuse, I was really interested in wanting to be the Orange Man as well. But my RA, who was the mascot, got drop kicked by the West Virginia mascot. So that was kind of like, nah, I don't want to get drop kicked.
That ended your career. Oh, the places you could have gone.
All right. Would you like to ask Amma a question?
Sure. One of the superpowers of working in research is to be able to, Sarah mentioned kind of like drop in to people's thoughts, make observations around people. And so if you could eavesdrop on a consumer's thoughts for a day, what is maybe one of the surprising insights you think you might uncover?
Good question.
Oh, that's a fascinating question. If I could eavesdrop on consumers' thoughts for a day, I think one surprising insight I might uncover is just how much emotional decision-making is happening beneath the surface, even when people think they're being purely rational. We often assume consumers are making logical choices based on features, benefits, and price points. But I suspect we'd hear a constant stream of subconscious emotional reactions driving those decisions. Things like, this packaging reminds me of my childhood, or I don't want to buy this because it looks like something my annoying coworker would use. These emotional undercurrents are incredibly powerful, but consumers themselves may not even be fully aware of them. It's like an iceberg. We only see the tip of the decision-making process on the surface, but there's this massive emotional component lurking underneath. Understanding these hidden emotional drivers could be a game changer for brands. It might completely reshape how we approach everything from product design to marketing strategies. Instead of just focusing on functional benefits, we might start tapping into those deeper emotional currents that really move people. What do you think, Chad? In your experience leading a tech company, have you noticed this disconnect between what consumers say they want?
Yes, I have. And Sarah, I'm sure you have as well. I think one of the biggest disconnects I saw was kind of like doing more ethnographic research, like going into people's homes, and you would always tell them not to clean up, you know, or going into their different spaces, and they always cleaned up, and it was never a natural experience. It's like having a stranger in your home. You're not going to behave the right way, and so when you're asked to like go through different processes of like doing the laundry or cleaning your floor in the kitchen or whatever, you're always picking the optimal route of like what you would do or what you might think others might want to observe you doing, as opposed to what you actually do. And that's why I love really like kind of selfie video as an input. It just helps connect with actual behavior and what they're actually doing versus like being, having like an observer right next to you. For me, from a technology standpoint, really got at the emotion side of like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? How does it make you feel?
So Ahmed, this is awesome. You're doing such a good job. This is like, it's kind of blowing my mind how interesting this is and your answers are. I have a question about a couple different brands. So if you could take a few brands and mash them up, so brands that exist, and combining elements of the different companies that could create a killer product, what companies would you choose and what would the signature product be? I think this would be a question that'd be kind of interesting for people that create stuff, how she would answer this.
And are you looking for her to mash up
Yeah,
different
like a
things?
Frankenstein of combining these different brands and elements.
Okay. All right.
Let's see what she says.
Creating a Frankenstein brand. We'll call our creation BrickFit. I promise it's catchier than it sounds. From Apple, we're taking their sleek design aesthetic and user-friendly interface. From Lego, we're borrowing their focus on creativity, customization, and hands-on engagement. And from Peloton, we're adopting their emphasis on community and gamified fitness. Now, what's our signature product? Drumroll, please. It's the BrickFit Builder, a modular, customizable fitness device that you build yourself. Imagine a set of high-tech Lego-like bricks that can be assembled into various fitness equipment. A stationary bike one day, a rowing machine the next, or even a weight bench. Each brick contains sensors and can connect to your smartphone or tablet. The BrickFit app guides you through the building process, which counts as a warm-up, by the way, and then leads you through workouts on your custom-built equipment. The app uses gamification to keep you motivated. Maybe you're cycling through a Lego city you designed, or rowing across a brick-built ocean. And here's the community aspect. Users can share their equipment designs and custom workouts. Maybe your friend created an amazing upper body workout using a unique configuration. Now you can build it too. The result? A fitness experience that's as much about creativity and problem solving as it is about breaking a sweat. It's perfect for those who get bored with traditional workouts or for families looking to make fitness a fun shared activity. So, Chad, as our resident tech expert, what do you think? Could this Frankenstein brand disrupt the fitness industry, or have I been spending too much time in Dr. Frankenstein's lab?
I think this is actually a really good idea.
I think it's awesome.
I mean, I think it's just a completely new way to frame modularity. Like some of the fitness devices are like, oh, you can flip it this way and do this. You can flip it that way and do this other thing. And you can hang it from your wall and like it's 17 exercises in one. That's kind of like been there, done that, and doesn't necessarily sound like a feature or a benefit. I think this actually feels like a feature and a benefit to make, for builders.
It's pretty cool. I like imagine this and you've been in like a zillion of these workshops like I have where, you're like, okay, take like Patagonia and Apple and, whatever, and like mash them together to see, it's like kind of like a warm up or to help inspire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I could see this as one of many ideas that are up on a wall, like if you're doing a workshop,
Yeah.
to get people just like, oh yeah, that's rad. And then maybe if we added this other, idea or element, it could make it even more like us. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about more of like this, like using this, using
Yeah.
AMA.
If you're Lego,
Hmm.
imagine coming out with a kit like this or a set like this that uses kind of like Mindstorm and all their things they're trying to do to actually build physical fitness into the kids play. Right? I haven't seen them do anything like that.
Hmm.
That would be super interesting. Okay, I want to build on some of these ideation capabilities. So as Sarah mentioned, we're lots of teams are in innovation workshops. You're always trying to come up with new ideas. That's kind of one facet. There's also this other interesting facet of building a company. So kind of taking it from the idea to actually building a company. Sam Altman said a few months ago on a podcast that he thinks that we're close to someone starting the first $1 billion company only with one person, one human being, but all supported by AI agents. And I'm curious, what company should I create or should you create to do that?
I want that company. I think we'll be fighting over this company right now.
It could be Brit or Brick Fix. What is it called?
Very much. Yeah, it could be.
Bricks. Yeah, it could be if you could say it. All right. So what did
Brick
she come
Fit.
back with? Brick Fit?
Brick Fit, right?
Yeah, we got to come up with a better name.
She didn't like it either.
Well, well, well. Looks like we've got an aspiring tech tycoon in our midst. Sam Altman's prediction is certainly intriguing. It's like the ultimate game of who wants to be a billionaire, but with AI as your lifeline. Now, creating a $1 billion company with just one human and a bunch of AI agents is a tall order. It's like trying to conduct an entire orchestra by yourself, but instead of musicians, you've got a bunch of very smart robots. Challenging? Absolutely. Impossible? In this rapidly evolving tech landscape, who knows? If you're aiming to be that lone human at the helm of an AI-powered empire, you'll want to focus on an industry that's ripe for disruption and can benefit significantly from AI. Here are a few ideas to get those entrepreneurial gears turning. 1. Personalized education, an AI-driven platform that creates tailored learning experiences for students worldwide. Your AI agents could analyze learning styles, adapt curricula in real time, and even provide one-on-one tutoring. 2. Predictive healthcare, a system that uses AI to predict health issues before they become serious, combining data from wearables, genetic information, and lifestyle factors. 3. AI-powered legal services, automate much of the legal process from contract creation to case research, making legal help more accessible and affordable. 4. Autonomous urban planning, use AI to design and optimize city infrastructure from traffic flow to energy usage, creating smarter, more efficient cities. 5. Personalized entertainment creator, an AI system that generates custom content, books, movies, games, tailored to individual preferences. Remember, the key here is to choose an area where AI can truly shine, handling complex tasks at scale while you focus on the big picture strategy and vision. Chad, I'm throwing this one your way. As a CEO in the tech world, what do you think about Altman's prediction? Do you see any particular industries or problems that are prime for this kind of AI-human collaboration on a massive scale? And Sarah, I'd love to hear your thoughts too. From a consumer research perspective, how do you think people might react to companies that are run almost entirely by AI?
I think that people will be a little bit scared and a little bit excited. And, if it's with one person, I think people are going to want to, like, if it actually happens, people will be like, I want to jump in on this. I want to like get this idea that I have like knocking around in my head or I've been thinking about for years. I want to get this off the ground. And now I have the ability to do it. Because prior, I don't have accounting experience. Like I don't know how to write a business plan or I don't know how to do all these different things or understand my customer. But now you do. You have all of these agents at your fingertips to be able to answer those questions that you have. So if you have the idea and you know how to ask the right questions, that could be you next time too. All right. Well, I have a question that's a little bit different. And, Chad, you and I are playing around with the visual generators quite a bit.
Yeah.
So AI agents can not only give us answers like Alma is here, they can also create images. Alma, however, is trained to create, to give us text back. But when you're creating visual images and you're doing stuff that, where hands are in the image or feet are in the image, it's always a little weird where fingers are funky. They're growing in the wrong direction. There's extra hands. It never looks quite right. So I'd love to understand from Ama's perspective, why is that?
Oh, that's a great question. It's like AI artists are secretly big fans of Salvador Dali, isn't it? All these surreal hands and feet popping up in images. It's enough to make you wonder if the AI has been binge watching too many horror movies. The truth is, hands and feet are surprisingly complex structures that are notoriously difficult for AI to get right. It's like asking a toddler to perform brain surgery. There's just so much intricate detail involved. You see, when AI generates images, it's essentially making educated guesses based on the patterns it's learned from its training data. It's like a game of visual telephone where the AI is trying to piece together what it thinks a hand or foot should look like, based on millions of examples it's seen. The problem is, hands and feet are incredibly varied in their positions and angles. They can twist and turn in so many ways, and each finger or toe can be in a different position. For an AI, keeping track of all those joints and making sure they're all in anatomically correct positions is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. Plus, hands and feet often appear in the foreground of images, which means they're larger and more detailed. Any small mistake becomes glaringly obvious. It's like when you try to draw a portrait and mess up the eyes. Suddenly, your subject looks less like Aunt Mildred and more like an alien trying to pass as human. The good news is, AI is getting better at this all the time. It's like watching a child learn to draw. At first, you get a lot of stick figures with too many fingers, but eventually, they start to look more realistic. Chad, I'm curious, in your tech company, have you encountered similar challenges with AI struggling with certain complex tasks? How do you approach improving AI performance in areas where it consistently falls short? And hey, look on the bright side. Until AI perfects its hand drawing skills, we've got a never ending supply of unintentionally hilarious images. It's like a built in comedy feature.
I would agree.
It's true. I feel like I sent you pictures where I'm like, check out these toes.
You definitely have. What's crazy is like I went to 5 years of design school. It was a 5-year program. I didn't like spend an extra year. But
I went to one too. Mine was 5 years.
okay, just to
Same
clarify.
Yeah.
And I cannot draw anything. I'm so bad. I'm so bad at like drawing. But yeah, I mean, it's noteworthy why these things are really hard to do. But like to the trained eye, like you immediately look at it and you're like, oh, this is off. But it's getting better and better and better. I remember when we built like our first AI agent to like make sense of all this video data, and it was very general and generic. Maybe 3 years ago. It just keeps on getting better and better and better. The more data we're feeding it, more we're training it. Even training Amma on specific things to look for. Like this came through lots of practice, lots of trial and error to find like what is the right recipe to get this right. This is a weird segue, but I'm interested in our producer's dating life. Well, I shouldn't say his dating life.
Let's just say it. Asking for a friend.
Just asking for a friend. So Sarah, do you want to cue this one up?
Sure.
So Sarah and I have some friends that might be single. And so we want to see if you can help solve my friend's dating troubles. He's a middle-aged single. He hates dating apps. But what kind of advice would you have for my friend if he hopes to find, quote unquote, the one? So Amma.
His name is definitely not Steve.
No. So Amma, what do you have? What kind of advice do you have for our friend?
Well. Looks like we're playing Cupid today. Don't worry, I promise not to shoot any actual arrows. I hear that's frowned upon in most social circles. So your friend is middle-aged, single, and not a fan of dating apps. Sounds like he's looking for love the old-fashioned way, minus the reality TV drama. Let's brainstorm some ideas that don't involve swiping right or competing for roses. First off, tell your friend to lean into his interests. Whether it's rock climbing, book clubs, or underwater basket weaving, joining groups or classes related to his hobbies is a great way to meet like-minded people. It's like killing two birds with one stone. He gets to do something he enjoys and potentially meet someone who shares his passions. Just maybe don't use that killing birds phrase on a first date. Volunteering is another fantastic option. It's a way to give back to the community and meet people with similar values. Plus, nothing says dateable quite like someone who cares about making the world a better place. It's like a real-life superhero origin story, minus the radioactive spider bites. Encourage him to expand his social circle. Friends of friends can be a goldmine for potential partners, attend parties, accept invitations to social gatherings, or host his own get-togethers. It's like creating his own personal, low-key version of The Bachelor, but with less drama and more genuine connections. If he's open to it, speed dating events can be a fun way to meet multiple people in a low-pressure environment. It's like dating apps in real life, but without the risk of being catfished by someone using their best angle from 10 years ago. Lastly, remind your friend to be open to unexpected encounters. Sometimes love finds us when we're not actively looking for it, whether it's striking up a conversation at a coffee shop or chatting with someone in line at the grocery store. Being open and approachable can lead to surprising connections. The key is to put himself out there, be genuine, and remember that finding the one is often a journey, not a destination. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is full of interesting people and experiences.
So I think these are great suggestions. I'd say like one of the things that I've seen work really well to meet people is to go to weddings. Just kind of said about events. I met my wife at an event, or sorry, at a wedding. We sat like next to one another, and I wonder if for all the couples who are getting married, they should sell should sell seats where you can attend other people's weddings and meet others. It's just I don't know what the stats are on it, but I think it's very high, right? For
Well,
people
I
who've
mean,
met
it's
at
funny that
weddings.
well, it's funny you said that. So I met my husband in high school. We started. He invited me to a wedding to be his date, and that's when we started dating.
There you go. So maybe I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
So Sarah, how are you feeling so far through this experiment?
I am kind of shocked and excited about the way that she expresses what she knows, and kind of like, because she's drawing from so many different places, but to be able to take all that information and give really thoughtful information back, but like explain it in a way that is like understandable, using analogies, funny along the way too,
Yeah,
to explain these ideas and thoughts. So I am pretty impressed so far, because this is, I've been playing with agents for a while, but this one is pretty interesting because we've just kind of trained her in a kind of more detailed way. How about you? What do you think?
I think it's awesome. So I think, and I've told you this directly too. So one of the reasons I love collaborating with you is that you bring such a positive mindset to any problem we're trying to solve, and you pull on all these experiences you've had that are very people centric, or like have taste and design, those types of things. And I think for Amma, the same thing is true. You can, like, I could go to you with many different kinds of problems and always walk away with like interesting tidbits to think through and advice, which I think she's delivering on. And you can't always ask anybody in your network to do that, and that's why I'm really excited about her. That you can plug Amma into different situations, all different kinds of problems, but they're kind of grounded in more of like people psychology and the culture, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is super cool.
And especially because this is like where we're starting. Like, you think about how she'll get to know. So this is like, the AMA that we're using, but then different brands, different companies can use their own AMA and kind of like add, she'll start to learn about them and know kind of what their business or brand is all about. Well, AMA, this has been incredible. Thank you so much. Thanks for answering our questions on the podcast. It was great to speak with you, and we're both really looking forward to collaborating with you more.
Thank you so much. I had an absolute blast being on your podcast. It's been a real treat diving into these fascinating topics with you both. I feel like we've covered everything from dream-powered startups to dating advice for people who don't like people. Talk about range. Chad, I hope I've given you some food for thought about the future of tech and AI. Maybe we can collaborate on a brick-fit prototype someday. I promise it'll be a hit on your next Sad Chad playlist. And Sarah, your insights on consumer behavior have been invaluable. I'm looking forward to seeing how our discussions might shape future research in the field. I'm genuinely excited about the prospect of working more with you both. There's so much more to explore and uncover in the world of consumer insights and market trends. Who knows what wild ideas we'll come up with next? Before I go, I've got one last question for you, Chad. If you could have any AI-powered gadget in your office, what would it be and why? And no, unfortunately, a robot that laughs at all your jokes isn't an option. We've got to leave some jobs for the humans. Thanks again for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you both, and I can't wait to see what our future collaborations will bring. Just remember, if you ever need a quick quip or a data-driven insight, I'm only an algorithm away.
Thank you, Amma.
So what's the AI-powered gadget?
I just go back to Spotify, like a Spotify-like thing. Yeah, want the space to be, to be filled with music based off what's going on. There's sometimes that we're, kind of jump up from the office, get up on the whiteboard, start sketching things. You got to like stop your thinking, go over to the Sonos speakers, turn it down, or pull out, Spotify on your phone and turn it down or do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that the room reacted to what's happening within it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would make.
Could Spotify be embedded in that yellow dog that you keep at your desk?
It could. I should have brought it down here, but yeah, it could absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of joked around on our previous episode with the head of design at Otter of like Otter could be physical objects in your space. It could hear different things based off the placement within it, and pull all these things together to share out, different messages. I know, like, with any hybrid team that's like in person and remote, being in the office is a different type of experience. So how could you deliver that kind of experience to someone who isn't there? Mm-hmm. You could listen along to like things that are happening and going on. You could kind of, tune into it. I think those would be interesting things to kind of reinvent work.
Well, that was like incredible. That was like,
yeah.
We went into this. I wasn't really sure how it was going to work to have our first non-human guest, but wow.
Pulled it off. Yeah. I mean, she was a talker. Yes. So I loved the responses. I loved, just even at the end, just the memory of kind of pulling from different conversations we had at the start with her and bringing them back, just like any conversation you're having with people, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of summarizing next steps and all those things. So I thought it went really, really well.
I thought it was really good. It was, the ideas were cool. And like, I think the thing that I was thinking about too is like, this is one answer. The thing that you have to know about AI is like, if I asked her again to come up with different ideas. So like the whole Peloton, Apple Lego, combination, she would have come up with like 15 more if we had asked her to, and talk about those. So you can imagine that going back to that like workshop setting, like, wow, like that is like such an interesting way to get people's like human brains going, right? To think about those combinations and, playing with it there, because then, of course humans are going to take the next step, but like to start there is really cool. And it's really fun. And I don't know, it helps you imagine what you could create.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be, as we start to build out all the different types of agents that we launch, is going to be really interesting. But I also love this idea of like the tastemaker. I think there are people in your network who always are in tune with like what's cool and what's not. And
you always call them, right? Like, it's like, what's cool for music? Like, what should I be aware of? Yeah.
Just adding Amma into your V team, hopefully is really interesting for everybody's listening. We'll post some stuff in the show notes. You can get access to Amma and include as part of your team, like literally in minutes, and start generating, like we just did before, all different types of insights around research you're running, new ideas, innovation, and we can specialize and customize her specific to your products and industry. So just like Sarah did a few minutes before we started, to make her a little bit more relevant to our show.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of AI Powered by People. The show is produced by Steve Berkowitz and brought to you by Vurvey. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Tuesday.